Hello, I'm really glad you're doing this exercise and watching this video. This is probably in the top 3 or 4 skills that you need to gain as an attorney when it comes to researching and understanding the law. So we're going to run through the 6 steps here as quickly as we can. The first one you already did. You probably found the on-point statute through the index, whether online or in print, or through the search bar, something like that. So the controlling statute is the primary statute. It's the one that dictates the outcome for your client's situation. But once you find that, your job isn't done. You then have to go out and read the entire act and look for any other, secondary statutes that also touch on your topic. And so we need to read all of these things together, okay? All right, so the step number 2 is to read the act, and to do that, I'm going to click here on Table of Contents. Now I'm clicking on Table of Contents because that will give us an exploded view of the entire act. I'll scroll up here. You can see where the act begins with that definition section, section 101. We're looking at section 107. And then now I'm going to read all of the catch lines. Now in real life, I would probably take more time and read more of the sections here. But you get the idea. I'm reading the catch lines. I'm looking for things that are secondarily on point, things that I need to know about for my case. As I get down to chapter 5 here, do you see it says copyright infringement and remedies? I'm going to click on that. Now I'm clicking on that because we are dealing with an infringement. Somebody is saying we stole their copyright, and we're saying no, we didn't. So we need to know what's under this section. So this section 505 on costs and attorney fees, that is something you always want to be aware of, because if you lose a case, in some situations, some acts say that the winning party, the prevailing party, can get reasonable attorney's fee or fees, and that's exactly what this says. So that's good to know. So let's go back there to that chapter 5 and see what else we can find. You know how often you have to find the statute of limitations? Well, you always do for litigation. Look here. Under B, no civil action shall be maintained under the provision unless it is commenced within 3 years after the claim accrued. So it's a 3-year statute of limitations. And now we have the site. So I'd write all of this down in my blog. And later on, I'd want to research, how do they interpret when the claim accrues? Okay, so you get the idea. So these would be our secondary statutes, okay? So now on to step 3. This is where we break the statute down into elements to make sure that we understand every single piece of it. So I'll add some slashes here to separate it into the elements. And now step 4 is where you take each one of the elements and you go to the definition section to see whether the definition section has defined it. So let's just take fair use and see if that's been defined. So to do that, this is step 4 again. I'm just going to click on Table of Contents, go back to the definition section, and as I scroll down here, we find that fair use has not been defined in the statute. And that's okay. I mean, that's actually pretty common, but we had to check. Now, some of these other things in 107 are defined here, like phonorecords, for example. So in real life, you find that in definition, and that would help you, and whatever. Okay, now let's go on to the next step here. Step 5 is where we use case law to interpret our elements. So we'll just take fair use here, and to do that we click on notes of decisions. So I'll use this table of contents to find cases that interpreted fair use. And I don't see fair use right away, but that's okay. When I drill down on some of these topics, I'll probably find it. And finally, let's do step 6. Now, in real life, as in if we were researching this parity issue in real life, we would not need to go to step 6 because there's plenty of case law. But I'll show you how to get started. You simply want to find the rules of statutory interpretation for your jurisdiction. So I'm going to select here as our binding jurisdiction the U.S. Supreme Court, because our parity issue is set in a federal district court. So anything from the U.S. Supreme Court would be binding on that federal district court. And you see, I just typed in statutory interpretation. And I'm going to look for some cases here that lay out the rules of statutory interpretation. And those are summarized in the book. You can check that out. But that's basically what you do. Now, this is way beyond the scope of this course to teach you the rules of statutory interpretation, but this is how you would find them. You just do a search for it, and you'll learn in other classes later on in your career what to do with them. Okay? All right. Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'll see you back in the workbook.